was just too young and immature to have any comprehension of God and His mysterious ways. After graduating from high school, I enrolled at the University of Texas in Austin. During my first semester, I met someone who asked me about my faith. Sensing that I was uncertain about it, he helped me fit together the pieces about God and faith and the Bible I had collected over the years but had not connected. At that point, I realized God was seeking to have a personal relationship with me, and that changed the whole trajectory of my life. I finally understood my faith to be in a person, not an idea, and I came into a real relationship with God. With this new understanding of faith, my life took a different direction. I had always wanted to marry a girl who was pretty and personable, but after I became a committed believer, I wanted a wife who would also be a partner in my new journey of faith. But I had no idea how to go about finding such a girl. For some reason, it never entered my immature mind to ask God to send me a life mate. As I floundered on my own, my first experiences in dating and courtship were disasters. By the time I began my junior year at UT, I had already been through 3 relationships that ended in heartache and pain. At the young age of 20, I realized I needed help. I was determined not to put another girl through the pain of rejection, and equally determined to avoid a repeat of it myself. So, I gave up my search and decided to leave it up to God. I don't want to date anymore. I want you to choose my lifelong mate and bring her to me. Since I had put my marital future in God's hands, I decided I no longer needed free evenings for my social life, so I took a job that required me to work 7 nights a week. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't punishing myself for my relational failures. The job provided good pay and good discipline, both of which I sorely needed. 2 years of goofing off at college taught me I might never get out if I didn't get serious. The job gave me considerable free time to study, and did I ever need that? I even had an office and a title, and a fairly impressive one, I thought. I was the Assistant Knight Sergeant at Arms for the Senate Chamber of the Texas State Legislature. My job was to prepare the night meeting rooms for the senators' committee meetings as needed. Most of the time, I just sat at my desk, on call, and studied. The Texas Senate does not meet during Christmas break, which freed me up to go on a trip to Chula Vista, Mexico, to restore an old mission. The following week, the student campus ministry that supervised the trip had its weekly meeting, and I was asked to make a report on the trip. A girl who came often to our campus ministry asked a Pi Phi sorority sister to accompany her to that meeting. The friend's name was Harriet Deison. When I met Harriet, I remember thinking she was exceptionally pretty, very nice, intelligent, and possibly a committed Christian, just the type of person our campus ministry ought to have in the student group. And I also thought she might be a great date. In other words, I saw her both as a project and a prospect. But such thoughts remained submerged in my subconscious. At that moment, I had a report to give. 2 weeks later, a co-worker at the Capitol offered to cover for me if I wanted to go to the next campus ministry meeting. I hadn't dated anyone in more than 6 months, but out of the blue, the thought hit me that I should take a girl to the event. Since I had determined not to date until God pointed the way, I prayed and asked Him for guidance. Harriet came immediately to my mind. I got the number of the Pi Phi house and picked up the phone to dial it. At that exact moment, I heard the voices of people coming into my office, a thing that seldom happened. I was on the 2nd floor of the Capitol in the Senate wing. It wasn't a place anyone would accidentally run across, nor was it easy to find even if one was looking for it. I quickly replaced the phone receiver and turned around just as Harriet and her friend walked through the door. I stood there gaping like an idiot, speechless. I had just asked God whom I might take to the meeting, thought of Harriet, gotten her number, and started to dial, and right at that moment, there she was, not merely a voice on the phone, but in the flesh. I know now that it was a visit